This morning, NBC News had provocative information about Michael Cohen. Apparently, he had been wiretapped by federal investigators, and beyond that, they had actually captured a phone call between Michael Cohen and a number associated with the White House, which would be significant. It seems like when we read that Michael Cohen, President Trump, had been talking immediately after the raid of Cohen's office. And even more, they had apparently been wiretapping him for a couple of weeks before that. So God only knows how much information they got. Except that some of the information we got from NBC News wasn't accurate, because apparently the wiretapping was not what we think of as wiretapping. They had oversold the story. In fact, if we bring up this tweet, you're gonna see that what they did apparently have was a pen register on Cohen's line that allowed them to log phone calls, internet activity, but not the content. They could not listen in on the phone calls. They didn't have access to all of that. I don't honestly know if that would have been legal. It depends on what sort of warrant they'd been able to get. But in the end, it turns out that what they had on Michael Cohen was not quite as strong or invasive as NBC News originally sold it, and they were forced to update that.
So the question is, why would they sell it like that? You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too conspiratorial now, but maybe the first reach out was, hey, so they wiretapped him, and then it went a little crazy because I also saw a couple of supporters of the president saying, hey, well, I think it was actually Giuliani. They said, if they did this, then this is a complete violation. How can they wiretap his phones? And that was one of my first thoughts too. I was like, under what basis could you wiretap everything he's saying? You know, this attorney, fixer attorney. And then so I wondered what basis that could have been, especially with this being reported so widely. So maybe it was reported that way. And then afterwards, it got this negative attention. They said, actually, no, it wasn't that big of a deal. We weren't actually wiretapping. And maybe they did. Maybe some aspect of it did happen. They don't want that legal ramification. I don't know, but it doesn't look that good in either way that they're presenting it.
You know, it's I hadn't thought of that. Just taking it at face value, it struck me as NBC overrunning it and wanting clickbait. They got it. A lot of tune in. It became the most referenced story of the morning regarding this whole investigation. So it was about money, right? That's all about clicks and advertiser views and all that kind of thing. And then they have to walk it back to the realities, which are such what John was saying, is sort of like there is a surveillance more than a wiretap, right? It's just they're keeping track of calls. It's kind of what Snowden pointed out. You know, Edward Snowden pointed out that bulk gathering of information. That's kind of what they're looking at, is sort of the bulk. It's a smaller bulk that's associated with Cohen. They can wiretap attorneys. There's a lot of that around, like they can't wiretap attorneys. And it is weird because there's an attorney-client privilege that's presumed. But of course, Rudy Giuliani himself has been involved in wiretapping attorneys, and that when he was investigating the mob back in New York, I mean, he was an attorney in the state of New York. He knows you can wiretap attorneys. All you have to do is show a judge, we believe there is sufficient wrongdoing going on here, probable cause, to the point that we need to wiretap. So this idea, all of a sudden, to hear Giuliani on his high horse about how can they possibly wiretap? Well, they are allowed to do it. It's not like something that's beyond the pale. But in this case, it was more surveillance than wiretap.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.